Hey everyone, welcome back to Evony with Genghis. So getting lots of comments. Honestly, every video I make since my layering videos, my March videos, has been, yo, where's the Archer video? Everyone wants this video. So here it is. So let's go over our Arch preset. So first thing that I'll talk about is how I think it's important to talk about that Archers predominantly, like in the history of the game, obviously it's the first attack march anyone makes, so it is the most important, and T12 used to be the dominant march, and you'll see in any old keeps like T12 archers way more than anything else. Some people like me have evened it out, but 25 million used to be a lot for one level. And now it's not really for larger players, but used to be. The reason why T12 was so dominant in the layers, there's lots of confusion about it, but basically you could chalk it up to sort of like a T11 siege march where it was a really good power swap. And they seem to just get all the kills. So I've seen people who would just put, 100 of every single troop, and then like 99.99% of their march was T12s. And it was successful. And as long as the people had horse, the enemy. And then I've seen people who did like, I was like a person who did like 70% T12s or like 65% T12s. Now those numbers have gone down. They're still high. There's two different opinions on archer marches out there right now, basically. I kind of go back and forth on which one that I use. And it kind of also depends on who you're attacking. So I wouldn't set up two different marches. I would just be aware of what you're doing, and you could slide a little bit on the scale because it's really only going to be in certain situations you would use one of them. But both are going to work really well because archer marches work really well almost against anybody. Even if they don't have horses, if you just overwhelm them, you'll just zero them. Obviously, you want to use them to attack large cities that have a lot of horses. But like if you see like an 8 billion and your ground and horse top troops are going low, you could just send archers and just do away with them. And archers kind of are jack of all trades attack. So anyways, let's look at the different marches and I'll go through them. So we'll go through the top and bottom one first. They're pretty simple. So T16, pretty simple. Just you aren't watching the video if you have T16s. So don't really even have to go over it. But 5% T16, 10% T15, 15% T14. So right there we're at 30%. And then 20% T13. And the rest half of the march, T12s. Now, to be honest, the T15 march that you see here, the two different ones, that probably could hold true for T16 as well. Lowering the T12 percentage and upping it higher up. But one of the reasons it probably hasn't happened is most people don't have that many T16s, even the people who have them, right? So to go over 5% and then to have that many T15s as well, if you're going to up it to a very large percentage, probably just the troops aren't there. And there just isn't that many players who have all of those T16s to be able to share the information with us. Or maybe they don't want to. T14, 20% T14s, 30% T13, and then half the march, T12s. And now, obviously, that also includes layers. So you have to make your layers. You should make all your layers first. So I do 5,000. Actually, that's a lie. I do 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. And just because I'm too lazy to move my thumb over. So I just do it like that. And that's what I do for all my layers. And then I get up to the top and then I calculate. So if my march here says 5,675, it's probably actually, let's just say 5,500 after I do 5,000 of every march. Maybe even a little bit less. Now, let's look at the T15 marches. So there's 10% on each of these. And then basically the big reversal is what's going on with T12 and T14. So let's take a look at this. And I'll make the first one for you. T15 is pretty easy, 10%. And we're going to pretend we have 5.5 million. So 10% is just going to be 550,000. Pretty easy. Now on the first one, 20% is T14s. So that would be 1.1 million. And then on the T13, it would be the exact same, 1.1 million. And then T12, you could basically just walk it over, right? Like if you have everything completed already, you could just boom, right, like that. And it will be half 50%, so half of 5.5 million. So it would actually be 2.75 million, like right around there. But everything else has all those 5,000 troops or 2,000, 1,000, whatever your layers are. But you can basically just march it over like that. This march, I would use more definitely on solos against T1 traps. Like if you want to send archers against them, right? Like that's not the ideal march, but if you're going to be sending against smaller players, like let's say you see a 1.5 billion and you want to send archers without a scout and you don't know what's inside of it, this would be the type of march you would send. It's less risky, less power involved. Look at the power in this march. It's only 535 million power. Now, let's do the other one, and you'll see the power difference, and I'll talk about where I use it for. So 30%, so that should be 1.65 million. And then the T13s go down to 550,000. And then basically the T14s just slide over. They end up being half. So it's going to end up being 2.65, 2.7, and 2.75, I think was the number we said. So right around there. And that ends up being it. Now this march, you can see it's 635 million power. This march I find to be more effective, definitely. I learned this march from one of the better players who I've always said is probably the best player in the game. You guys can figure that out, not Neo. And the other march with the heavy T12 is used by more players. But this march, T14s perform extremely well when you have T15s. But the thing is, you have to make sure you have enough high troops to sustain a lot of marches with this. So this is how I set up my marches for Battlefield. Heavier on the T14, but I'm very selective of where I send archers in Battlefield or SVS. If SVS, I will normally roll this down and go to the heavier 12s. I'll even sometimes add in some 11s if I'm going to be attacking blind. But in Battlefield, if I know what my opponent has, like if I see, say, one of those like juicy 2.5 billion and they only got 300 million troops, they're not a trap, I'm sending this. Obviously, they need to have a little bit of horse in there. But I will send this one with the heavier T14s. T14s do a lot of damage. This is a very good rally march if it's going to be a target that your alliance can zero in one rally. So that's basically the difference in it. Basically, the heavier T12 one is kind of when you're attacking blind, you don't know what's in there, or just if you don't have the high-end troops. But all in all, if you have unlimited troops in this game, which only a handful of people do, you would go with the heavier march, the higher power. I have done a lot of work. I stopped because I started to do buildings again. I broke my promise to myself where I said I would just do troops and not do K45. But I've got 20 million T14 archers because I saw how well they performed. And I just said, I just got to make so many T14 archers because I want them and I want to send that heavy march, and I've really noticed a difference. Anyways, that's my suggestion for the or for the archer marches, depending on what tiers you have. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about that. Are you already using stuff like that? And like, subscribe, leave a comment.